Hello again, MMA True Believers. I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I have the pleasure of being joined tonight by a true legend of women's MMA. Now in her 13th year in the sport, she has been around long enough to be viewed as an early pioneer of the female side of MMA, yet, unlike many of her contemporaries from those days, she is still competing and winning at the highest levels of the sport. Currently, she is preparing for the semifinals of the PFL playoffs on October 11th, where she is a heavy favorite to go all the way and win $1 million eventually on New Year's Eve. She is a legend of the sport and notable representative from our neighbors from the north. She is Sarah Kaufman. Sarah, thanks for joining me tonight to talk about this road to the PFL playoffs.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, the PFL has been hashtagging me She the North. I think it's hilarious. I like it.
I like that too. Now, I have so many questions for you. I actually want to talk about the PFL and the media stuff and you, but I'll get to that because you've been fantastic when it comes to the media stuff. Now, we all know how your fight at PFL 4 was canceled at the last minute. Of note, though, was that the league did pay you your show and win money, which is not the case with many organizations, including the UFC, which led you to say to the media that night at PFL 4, the PFL is definitely the organization that has treated me the best of any organization I've ever fought for. Now, talk to me about that, because you are not the first MMA veteran, UFC veteran I've talked to in the PFL now that has said that. For you personally, what have they done that really made an impression on you, aside from paying you your PFL 4 show and win?
I think how they treated that situation really is a huge factor in that, because, there's something about paying your show and win money that is unprecedented in pretty much any other organization in MMA in general. And really what ends up happening is the onus is on the fighter who made weight, who was professional, to then be forced to fight in order to get their full pay, for someone else not doing their job. And so the fact that PFL really said, hey, here's the situation. We're going to pay you your money regardless. We're going to give you your points regardless. And maybe if it wasn't for the fact that I had the semifinal fight with the goal of making the finals, making the millionaire, getting there uninjured and in a safe path, I probably would have still taken the fight because I just love the fight. Without having another fight on the horizon, I'm still taking that fight and I get extra money and who cares? But the fact that I wasn't forced to do that is the difference. And so, I mean, that on top of, it's even money across the board when it comes to the championships. 6 weight divisions, 1 female, 5 male, everyone's getting $1 million. Everyone's brought out to the same events, and it's just being given the same opportunities as every other fighter on the roster when it comes to number of fights available, price point when it comes to the final $1 million contract, and just it's been a great connection. The team at PFL is really great. And I do feel that I've met so many amazing people along the way in different organizations. But just, I feel like I'm definitely getting a push for being myself and not being anyone fake or having to be someone that I'm not.
First. Now, give me your thoughts on Larissa Pacheco, your opponent on October 11th. To me, she is being criminally overlooked in this season, at least in my opinion. Much of the focus in the division is on you and Kayla, which is totally understandable. We get it. Kayla's a top-level prospect, a lot of talent. You're a veteran who's been fantastic all of your career. However, Pacheco's 4 career losses are to former UFC strawweight champion Jessica Andrade, former featherweight champion Jermaine Devrandami, Macy Chesa, who just won Ultimate Fighter, and then Kayla. So these are top-level fighters. She even gave Kayla a scare in that fight. Larissa, is she would you agree she's pretty damn talented and only getting better, just turning 25 like a few weeks ago?
I've told a lot of people, I actually think that Larissa is, aside from me, the next most dangerous person. I mean, sure, Kayla has, the power and the size and the judo background and that tenacity. And when Kayla and Larissa fought, Kayla definitely came out the dominant victor. But Larissa didn't take a lot of damage in that fight. She played it patient. She stayed calm. She stayed collected. She looked for opportunities. And I think that experience definitely played into that. And I think that she is actually the toughest fight of the 8 women in the division for me. I'm very confident that I'm winning this fight and finals. But I do think that her skill set and her experience is much above everyone else.
Larissa is strongest on the ground with her grappling. In your lone fight in the PFL, you showcased your grappling. You took Morgan Fry down, beat her up because the opportunity arose. For this fight, should we expect classic Kaufman, keeping the fight on the feet and displaying the outstanding striking you've just showed, throughout your entire career? Is this one of those obvious kind of, this is the clear way to win, I'm going to make her stand up and just beat her up on the feet?
I mean, I just love striking so much. It's so hard to not use that and to not showcase that because it's so much fun. The only thing about PFL that I'm bummed about is not having elbows because elbows on the feet, elbows for ground and pound are just the best thing in the whole world. In all my classes at Zuma where I coach, I've been coaching lots of elbows because it means that I get to do them. They're just so much fun. So, I'm missing that aspect of it. But aside from that, I'm so excited to showcase my striking against Larissa. And if it goes to the ground, I'm not worried. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under my coach, Adam Zucek. I feel really confident there. But just striking and hitting someone is very different than just controlling someone.
Do you feel like that even as you've been so successful as a striker, you've done it for so long, is there levels that would the Sarah Kaufman from today beat the heck out of Sarah Kaufman from 5 years ago in terms of striking? Would you say you're always evolving, and are there certain areas that you feel you've really grown, that we may not notice because you've always been such a good striker?
I definitely think that I'm evolving. I train it every week. It's not like I'm to the point where I feel, okay, well, I can't get any better at this, so I'll only train it when I have a fight coming up. I just love it. It's such a passion of mine. And then, I just think that mixed martial arts has evolved so much. So it's not just the striking. It's not just boxing or just Muay Thai or a specific style. It's becoming that MMA style. So I think that I've definitely developed that and really enhanced that aspect of my game where it's not just boxing, just kickboxing, just Muay Thai. I do feel like it's very much come together in a fluid style that can be interchanged between wrestling and grappling and ground and pound and wrestling style grappling and jiu-jitsu style grappling and put all of that together for a really complete game.
Now, we talked about your striking. It's a clear advantage for you in this fight. Larissa has her strengths in the ground, but you feel you can best her there too. Where do you feel there are places you need to be careful with her? She's a talented fighter, like we talked about. Fought a lot of good fighters, only lost to high-low fighters. Where do you feel there are dangers, even though you have your confidence in standing or on the ground against her?
There's dangers in all aspects with Larissa. She's taller than me. She's heavier than me. She's longer than me. So in terms of striking, even if I'm a better striker, someone can potentially land one shot and the night's over. Yeah. Even someone who has horrible striking, you can land a lucky punch and you knock someone out and the fight's over. And then when it comes to the ground, she is very crafty at, making sure she moves her hips, gets her transitions. She'll be patient. She's not going to rush anything and leave any big openings. So I think it's just a matter of making sure you don't get caught in a submission, making sure you don't get knocked out, making sure you don't get pinned on the cage. And she has to look for those things from me as well. Right. So it's definitely a fight that is, even in terms of certain aspects, but I feel very confident I come out ahead.
I followed along for much of your career, and I could be wrong, but I feel like, and I mentioned it before, like the PFL has given you much more of a platform to get out there, be in front of the media much more, and you're great at it. I feel throughout the season you have done well to build up a possible fight with you and Kayla, just in general, promoting yourself, promoting the promotion. Was your comfort in front of the media something you've always had and was maybe overlooked and underutilized by other promotions? Or after so many years in the business and doing interviews and pressers and all this stuff, have you found a comfortability or comfort level with being out in front of the media and promoting and doing all the talking that a lot of fighters are still uncomfortable with?
I think maybe this is the thing that PFL has allowed me to do more I've never been one to trash talk. I've never been one to shit talk
Yeah.
or make something up or say something for the purpose of getting a rise out of someone. Uh, I've always thought it's fun to have like a back and forth banter with someone where like Kayla's made it very easy for me, and I get more on her than I think it is on me, and the PFL's just ridden with it. But I mean, she's been pushed. It's obvious that she's been pushed. She gets favorable matchups. She gets like the headlining spot. She gets her face on every billboard that says PFL. It's always her face, and so they've kind of already done that. And so it was easy for me when she just started saying small things to just point out the discrepancies. And that's all I've done.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do anything aside from just have fun, point out these obvious blips that she thinks no one will notice, but I will. And then the PFL's being great about that. This is awesome. When I said, hey, can you send me this video of this? They sent it to me the next day. So it's been really great getting the content from them. They send us out videos. They ask for certain things. They're trying to work with us to get more of those social media aspects out, which is great for everyone. It's great for the PFL. It's great for me as my own personal brand. It's great for setting up the next big fight. So I think it's awesome. And if Genah wins, I mean, she no-showed you, but she already said that I'm over the fence pretty much. Like, it's hilarious. She said it in a very respectful way. But when asked who's, I saw this video, when asked who's, the person you have to look out for, she said me. And part of the reason was because I'm experienced and also because she thinks I have nothing to lose because this is my last hurrah.
Wow.
I didn't realize it was. But apparently it is. And, so stuff like that, it's just fun. It's hilarious. And so now if Genah wins against Kayla, that can be a thing. And if Kayla wins, then it's back to the two of us, if we both win our fights, meeting in what's going to be, for PFL, the biggest fight in their franchise.
I mean, for so long, you were the prime fighter, the rising fighter, the up-and-coming fighter, the underappreciated fighter, the very good fighter on various promotions, Invicta and Strikeforce and UFC. Do you take joy and pride then in when Genah says stuff like that and people are thinking you like over the hill and stuff like that? And do you kind of enjoy that? Because, like, you're in training and you're seeing what you're doing and just even what you did to Morgan Fry earlier. Like, it's almost fun. Like, they really are underestimating, and this is great because it's probably been a long time since you've been underestimated.
I think I'm underestimated, but also I think it's a little bit of like respect and healthy fear, maybe.
Okay.
Having the inexperience of like only a couple pro fights and seeing someone with 25, 26 pro fights, that is a big difference. And I kind of remember being there. But I mean, I take it as a compliment and an insult all at the same time. I don't really care. Again, for me, I care about getting better. I care about the next thing. And it's weird that somehow 13 years has gone by since I've been in this crazy sport. I started because I got asked, would you fight Liz Posner? And I said, okay, sure. That sounds fun. And then from there, it just ended up snowballing into what is now being somehow 13 years. And I still feel like I'm so new in this sport. I know I have experience to bank on, but every time I go in, I have things I want to work on. I have things I want to showcase. I have things I want to do better. And that's why I'm still in the sport, because I don't feel like I've reached my peak yet. And when I do, and I feel like I'm on a decline or I feel like I can't get any better, then I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to stay in the sport to risk the injury and not enjoy it and not feel like I can be the best in the world. If I'm not the best in the world and I know that that's a reality, I'm out. It's that simple.
So can we confirm right now, if or when you win the $1 million, you're still going to be looking for getting the second $1 million?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in. Yeah, I'm not out. I'm in.
Now, I asked you the last time we talked a few months back that a fellow colleague of mine, MMA Media, suggested the idea that you've been renting space in Kayla Harris's head. And this was months ago. This is after the first fight. Now there's other things that have happened. It seems like she's very perturbed by you. Do you feel now, as we get closer to these playoffs, and especially if you guys end up facing each other towards the finals and face each other in the octagon, in the cage after your two fights on the 11th, do you really, have you not only rented a space, you've already building a building of question and fear in her mind about you if you have to face her.
I mean, maybe there's at least a little wormhole in there. I think that everyone, you have to respect people who are doing what you're doing, and I think that there's something for fighting someone who has like a lot more experience than you in one aspect. But I always think that everyone has fought me at their absolute best.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I have fought someone, it's been their absolute best, and then their next fight, I'm like, where was that? That's not the same person. You were way better when you fought me. And I think it's because there is that fear. People don't want to lose, but they don't mind losing sometimes if it's like a grappling match. You're like, oh, you outworked me. Yeah. You pinned me down. They have this attitude where I don't want to lose that way either. Yeah. But people definitely don't want to lose when they know that they're going to get beat up. And I think that that's because of my style and because of what I like to do. And I don't mind getting hit. I don't shy away from that to stay in a fight. I do think that puts a little bit of fear in people, and something people don't know how to deal with that pressure. And Kayla's probably feeling that, and little wormhole.
Speaking of Kayla, how do you see that fight with her and Genah playing out? I mean, obviously a lot of people are going to look at Kayla to win. I mean, Genah's the one person in the entire division that has less experience than her, but she's a Muay Thai world champion, stuff like that. How do you? I mean, it's a classic striker versus grappler fight. It seems like in that way. How do you see that fight playing out? Do you think we will be surprised and Kayla will not be possibly seeing you in the finals?
It's possible. I think that it really is striker grappler, and I do think that Kayla will likely work to close that distance really fast, try and take her down. And I mean, for the most part, I don't think that Genah has the strongest ground game, and I'm sure she'll be the first one to admit that. Again, she could surprise us. Maybe she long limbs, strong guard, triangles, arm bars. Like even people who aren't black belts or brown belts or purple belts or whatever can land those. I've been armbarred 3 times. Like, it's the worst. You're like, come on, I was winning the fight. But it happens. You can make mistakes and fall into stuff. So it's not like it's not possible. But I think on the ground, Kayla just kind of smothers Genah, works for a submission, and the fight will be over. But she has to get in first. And Genah is long. She is a southpaw. If she can utilize her distance and kind of really put some power in and crack Kayla before she comes in, it could make for a very interesting fight. I do see Kayla probably just trying to power in after maybe 30 seconds of circling and taking the fight, but who knows?
Do you see that powering in, which, and I'm a novice. I don't have the understanding of fighting like you do, an expert, practitioner of fighting, but that rushing in, that inexperience, do you look at that and that kind of, I don't want to get hit kind of stuff and like lick your chops a little bit, and like, if that fight happens with us, oh man, I really hope she tries that stuff with me. Is there anything like that when you watch these fights?
I'm trying to not get ahead of myself because Larissa is really the next fight, and so everyone's like, oh, how are you going to prep for Kayla? And I'm like, well, that's not right now. And while you can somewhat plan for if this then this, if this then this, at the end of the day, when I was sitting waiting for the fights to kind of unfold, and I was like, okay, I could be fighting Larissa, I could be fighting Genah. And so at the time where Genah was and where I was like, oh, Kayla probably try and finish Morgan faster than I did. So then I'll be fighting Genah. So, I asked Bobby, who had, fought her in the first fight, hey, if I end up fighting Genah, can I bring you out? Because you're a tall southpaw striker who's big. And she was like, oh, yeah, for sure. And then that switches, in the drop of a hat when Kayla doesn't finish her as fast. So, you can have these things set in place and planned. But until you're actually in there, until I beat Larissa and until either Kayla or Genah wins, I'm not really going to overplan for anything or get too excited about a fight that's later on.
Speaking of over planning, the unique thing, and it could be a pro or it could be a con the way you feel, is for all the other divisions, they will be having 2 fights in one night. That's the thing that separates the PFL from every other league. The 2 fights in one night, it's the playoff system, all this kind of stuff. But yet the women's lightweight division will not have that, and it's a chance for those guys. They're gonna get 2 paydays in one night, especially if if they win and whatnot. Is there at all a part of you that kind of would be intrigued by having had been in that 2 fights in one night, 2 paydays, 2 very good paydays for what I've been told by some of the fighters? Or is there part of you that's like, shit, I'm glad I did not have to do that. I want to just fight once and just get to the $1 million fight. What are your thoughts? Would you like to have done the 2 fights in one night, or no interest in it?
No, I definitely have interest. I mean, I like to fight and I like to challenge myself in fights. And so to have the 2 fights, you have to fight a little bit differently. You can't fight too conservatively in the first one, because then you lose and you don't get to do the second one. Right. But if you have an all-out war in the first one, you have nothing left, or you're too injured to do the second one, you're too cut up. So there are just the strategy of it, I think, is very interesting, and the challenge of it to have 5 rounds, potentially 5 rounds over the course of a few hours versus 5 rounds all at once, how you train for that. I like intellectual and kind of programming and seeing different aspects. So I would love it. But I mean, ultimately, I want the $1 million fight. Yeah. So again, this whole season has been, what's my path of least resistance? Right. Finish the fight early, and make your way to the finals, taking the least amount of damage.
You've been in the sport, like I mentioned, a long time. You've been in many different promotions, dealt with many different kind of promoters and executives. A big story the last few weeks or last month or so was Cyborg Santos and the really nasty falling out with the UFC. Now she's gone and signed with Bellator. What were your thoughts on that? Because you, I'm sure, have an appreciation for fighters like yourself, like her, that have been around for a long time, done a lot, not only for women's MMA, just done a lot for the sport in general, like you have done, like Cyborg has done, Miesha Tate. What did you think of that kind of nasty separation between those two? Cyborg obviously seemed like she wanted to leave for a while, and then on the way out, Dana White's calling her a nightmare to work with, all these things, despite her reputation being pretty good as a pretty nice person. What were your thoughts on something like that? Is it not surprising? Is it surprising?
So I know Chris, and at first when that video, sorry, my phone's losing battery here, to look for a plug. At first when I heard that she put out that video with, Dana and her, and then the video was actually a little bit doctored, where conversation was split out, I was like, why would you do that? That was so stupid. And then after the fact, I was like, well, maybe she just wanted out. And maybe she did that knowing that it might piss them off. And I'm friends with her. I didn't ask because I don't really care to know the answer, because I think it's something that, whether you did it on purpose or you didn't do it on purpose, it was done. But I think that she's really happy. I think she's really excited to be with Bellator. It would have been great if she came to the PFL. Yeah. And again, bringing big names to the organization just gives that much more validity to it. But, I think 145 division in Bellator, she's going to have success there. She's going to have a home there, and they're going to treat her well.
Is that a fight that, even despite you two being in different divisions for so long, was that a fight that you kind of always looked at like maybe one day that would have been interesting, despite being friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, I love fighting, but I wouldn't fight a friend and a really tough friend for like $10,000. Right. I mean, it's not worth it, But if there's a lot of money on the line, like this is a sport where you put your body in the line and you make money. And if you're putting your body in the line against a friend, you want to both be making something out of it. And if you're both making a good living, it's not personal. It just becomes, well, this is the right thing. Right. And at the end of the day, you're still friends. Right.
Now, I always like to end the interviews trying to learn, to discover a little bit more about the subject I have in front of me. Just so when fans are watching, they learn something they may not. Maybe they're following the Instagram, but they didn't get this. Maybe they're following Twitter, they didn't. Like, what's something about you that has nothing to do with fighting? What's like a personal passion of yours? I've gotten some interesting answers when I've asked fighters. I've gotten... knitting. Pam Sorensen likes to knit. LFA champion Julius Anglicus likes to do origami. I've heard video games, riding motorcycles, cooking, binge watching, sports. What does Sarah Kaufman do when she's not whooping ass in the cage, be it in training or in fights? Okay. Ah! I was just watching a video with silly pets and stuff like that, so this is awesome.
She just woke up from a nap,
Uh-huh.
so not super pleased. But she's a really sweet little pup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you had her?
She'll be 10 October 6th.
Wow.
Yeah. Getting to be an old lady.
Yep.
Yeah. She's been Oscar the Grouch for Halloween. I spray painted the green, put a garbage can on her.
Uh-huh.
She's been a pirate. She's been a rhinoceros.
Uh-huh.
She's been a shark. So many things. But so I hang out with my dog. She comes to work with me, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I coach at Zuma. I run, everything from 3 to 5-year-old classes all the way up to adults and grandparents and whole family affairs. So that's really fun. I'm a large nerd, and I really enjoy crossword puzzles and puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles. As a youth, I was part of the Youth Embroiderers Guild of Victoria. Again, it's like numbers and counting. For my nieces and nephews, I often like to do fondant cakes.
Okay.
Like just fun things like that. Yeah, that's kind of it.
All right, fair enough.